Chicago, once the city where the American dream was written, is now a freezing hell for over 68,000 homeless people. Who are they? And how did they fall into such deep despair right in the heart of one of the wealthiest cities in the nation? Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the untold stories that need to be heard. And now, let's begin the journey to uncover this heartbreaking truth. Have you ever imagined this? That in the heart of one of the most magnificent cities in America, once hailed as the City of Dreams, there exists a chilling and harsh underworld that's almost too haunting to believe. Chicago isn't just known for its towering skyscrapers, vibrant jazz scene, or legendary basketball games. Right beneath the glow of its dazzling boulevards, tens of thousands of people have no roof to return to. They live, if we can even call it living, in makeshift tents, under bridges, beside bus stops, or outside abandoned hospitals that were once proud symbols of modern healthcare. This isn't a new story. But what makes it a tragedy is the fact that it's been simmering for years, and by now, it's almost become part of the city's landscape, ignored with a quiet indifference, sometimes even unconsciously. 68,000 people are homeless. A number so staggering it demands visualization. If you've ever been to the United Center, where the Chicago Bulls play, imagine it filled to capacity, not once, but 3 times, entirely with people who have nowhere to call home. People often assume homelessness is the result of laziness or addiction. But if you find yourself in Chicago on a winter night, where temperatures can drop below -4 degrees Fahrenheit, -20 degrees Celsius, you will realize that just surviving is already a victory. And in that freezing darkness, you'll hear very different stories, about an elderly woman who used to be a nurse, a single father who once drove a city bus, or a college student who dreamed of becoming a journalist. They didn't lose their homes because they were careless. They lost them because the system wasn't strong enough to catch them when they fell. Take Bernard Taylor, for example. He was 47 years old and used to work as an electrician for a major construction company. After a workplace accident left him unable to continue his job, mounting medical bills quickly made it impossible for him to afford rent. He spent over a year living in a corner of the Garfield train station. In the winter of 2024, he was found dead from severe pneumonia, alone, with no one by his side, and no family coming to claim him. Another story is that of Leticia Ramos, 28, who was once a psychology student at DePaul University. When her father passed away from COVID-19 and her mother could no longer afford tuition, Leticia had to drop out and look for work. But without a degree and lacking stable housing, she fell into homelessness, living out of her family's old car, sometimes sleeping at gas stations when it was too cold. She shared, "I never thought a city this civilized could abandon its young people like this." Today's conversation isn't about placing blame or listing grievances. It's about understanding, and maybe, through that understanding, something within us might begin to shift. If you are watching this video, chances are you've also asked yourself, how could a wealthy city like Chicago let this happen? That question is what we'll explore together, layer by layer, root by root. Not through cold statistics, but through real, human stories, the lives of those who have been forgotten in a city that never sleeps. For those approaching this video as a travel documentary, Chicago might look very different, not the shopping districts or the famous cultural museums, but the dark corridors between 2 bridges, or an unnamed street corner where an elderly woman quietly cooks porridge over a makeshift fire. And in that sense, this isn't just a documentary about homelessness, it's also an opportunity to explore a nation from a rarely seen perspective, the lower depths of society, and the lives of those who have endured the deepest wounds. On a trip to Chicago, few expect to come face to face with a deeper truth about this nation, an America not of glitz and glamour, but of policy gaps, wealth inequality, and above all, a growing homelessness crisis. But it's in these shadows that we begin to understand the other side of urbanization, of systemic imbalance, and of promises left unfulfilled. This isn't about blame, it's a reminder that no culture can truly thrive if tens of thousands of its people are left to survive without a place to call home. We don't come to Chicago just to take photos at Millennium Park. Maybe, one day, we'll find ourselves pausing for a while at a subway station, where someone simply wants to be seen. That too is a form of travel with empathy, stepping outside our comfort zones to realize that homelessness isn't a choice, but the result of a long chain of neglect. And yet, that's only the surface. Behind the stories of shelter and survival lies something even deeper, a crisis of mental health and social isolation. According to a report from the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless, nearly 40% of the city's homeless population is living with some form of mental illness that has gone undiagnosed or untreated. Without stable housing, without health insurance, and without access to the public healthcare system, they're trapped in a vicious cycle of depression, anxiety, and panic, with no clear way out. Jamal Thompson, 38, used to be a mechanic at a small garage on the west side. After the sudden death of his wife, he fell into depression, lost his job, and eventually lost his home. Jamal shared that he often hears voices in his head, but has never once seen a mental health specialist. He said, "I don't need someone to fix everything for me. I just want a quiet place so I don't lose my mind." The social isolation that homeless individuals experience isn't something easily seen with the naked eye. When you don't have an address, when you have no place to return to, it's as if you're no longer part of the community. With each passing day, you're pushed further away from the circle of society, from kind glances, from the simplest gestures of acknowledgement. And the consequences don't stop at the individual level. A society with tens of thousands of invisible people is a society carrying a deep fracture of trust, connection, and compassion. When people like Jamal, Bernard, and Letitia are left behind, we are also leaving behind a part of our own humanity. If you've made it this far, thank you for patiently listening. And if you believe these stories deserve to be heard more widely, please leave a comment below, because every share could be the first step toward someone finally being understood. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you can continue this journey with us as we uncover the often overlooked truths, not just in Chicago, but in cities around the world. In the next episode, we'll explore why, despite hundreds of millions of dollars poured into support programs, homelessness remains unchanged, and whether there's any light at the end of the tunnel for those who are exhausted from waiting. Because sometimes, the people who need to be heard the most are the very ones who have no voice in this society. Despite hundreds of millions of dollars being funneled into homelessness support programs, the situation in Chicago has shown little improvement, and the reason isn't a lack of goodwill, but rather major gaps in the system. Much of the funding gets stuck in administrative layers or is spent on operational costs instead of directly reaching those in need. Meanwhile, most support programs are only temporary, like short-term housing or charity meals, and don't address the root causes such as employment, mental health, or long-term stable housing. As a result, people experiencing homelessness are caught in a cycle of poverty and dependence, often ending up back on the streets once the programs end. On the other hand, Chicago doesn't have a housing shortage, it has a shortage of accessible housing. Tens of thousands of units sit vacant, but most are priced far beyond what low-income individuals can afford. A lack of rent control, profit-driven real estate investments, and a weak support network make it nearly impossible for people experiencing homelessness to escape instability. Even those who want to turn their lives around face countless barriers: no fixed address, missing documentation, and untreated mental health issues. Society expects them to get back on their feet, but fails to provide the foundation they need to truly stand. Yet amid the darkness, there is still light, shining from small communities, quietly working organizations, and from those who were once victims but have now become guides. Models like Housing First, social enterprises, and comprehensive mental health care centers are proving truly effective when given the right support. In the next episode, we'll meet the people who are changing that reality day by day, from nonprofit organizations and grassroots initiatives to former homeless individuals who found themselves again and are now helping others find their way out of the shadows. This isn't just a story about solutions, it's a story about hope, sparked by the human spirit. In a world that's changing every day, what makes a city truly great isn't its towering skyscrapers or dazzling lights, but how it treats its most vulnerable. The organizations and individuals we've just met aren't just providing shelter for people experiencing homelessness, they're quietly rebuilding the core values of our society: compassion, inclusivity, and a sense of collective responsibility. They're not waiting for massive budgets or relying on promises from above. They're starting with the simplest things: a blanket, a warm meal, a respectful greeting, and the unwavering belief that no one is born to be forgotten. If the stories in this video moved you, hit the like button to help spread the message, and subscribe to our channel to join us on a journey through the often overlooked corners of society, not just in Chicago, but in cities around the world. Every share, every comment you leave is more than just a click, it's a meaningful act of empathy, helping bring the voices of the voiceless closer to the community. Let's build a city together, not just with rooftops, but with heart.